Yo, my name is Gams. I'm a Balanced Druid theory crafter, and I've been the main writer and maintainer of the Balanced Druid Compendium for the past year. You can usually find me yapping about Moonkin or shitposting in the Druid class Discord. If you don't know what the Compendium is, it's a written Balanced Druid guide that you can find on dreamgrove.gg. In this video, I'm going to go over the current state of Moonkin coming into War Within Season 2 and Liberation of Undermine, and give a little retrospect on how balance has been so far in the expansion. My intention is also for this video to serve as an alternative to the written form of the compendium for people who prefer visual guides. And I must preface the video by saying that any talent, rotation, or recommendation in general can change very quickly as Blizzard rolls out tuning, and to always double check the written guide as that will be updated as soon as possible when changes happen. If you have any questions pertaining to the guide or you spot an error in Compendium, then you can find my Discord easily in the Dreamgrove server. Okay, so to start off, let's talk about the talents. The Druid class tree got a lot of changes coming into the new season. The old class tree got a lot of criticism for forcing you to take talents that didn't interact with your spec in order to reach defensive or utility nodes. To improve on this, they removed some old talents, added some new ones, and shifted talents around to try and improve pathing. Moonkin form is back as a talent. You get it at level 10. Improved Sunfire got removed and baked into regular Sunfire. They added a connection between Sunfire and Starlight Conduit that gives you the option to skip Astral Influence if you don't need it. For the top section of the tree, the option you'll probably interact with the most is whether to take Remove Corruption or Killer Instinct. If you're doing a fight or a dungeon where there's no poison or curse dispel needed, then you can take Killer Instinct for a very minor gain. For the middle part of the tree, the options you have to choose from are you need either Typhoon or Vortex to path downwards. You need either Feline Swiftness or Well-Honed Instincts to path downwards. Most likely you'll take both. You can take either Light of the Sun, good in M+, not good if you don't need to interrupt. Astral Influence for extra range. If you don't need it, then there's no real reason to take it. For the left part at the bottom, Incap Roar, good in M+, Mighty Bash, so single target stun, take it if you need it in the content you're doing. Ursine Vigor, so decent defensive value, gives you more HP a few seconds after you shift into bear form. Fluid Form, so decent talent, it alleviates some of the damage loss you take by having to shift in combat. Lucar's Teachings, Lore of the Grove, and Circle of the Heavens are mandatory damage talents. Lucar's Meditation, same thing as Fluid Form. It alleviates some of the damage you lose by having to shift in combat. Improved Stampeding Roar, good if you need it in raid. It makes your Stampeding Roar be 1 minute instead of 2. Heart of the Wild is a very niche defensive talent. Some people took this on early progression in Nerebar just because of the extra needed defensive value. Innervate, it's a good utility. It also helps you path downwards to Nature's Vigil, which is also just decent utility. Forest Walk gives you some defensive value and movement speed whenever you cast Regrowth. Keeper of the Grove also gives you the option to get procs that makes Regrowth instant, which is good for Forest Walk. So Forest Walk is not as good with Elun's Chosen. And then over to the Spectre talent. So for the Spectre and the Hero trees, Keeper of the Grove is preferred choice for raid and lower range of Mythic Plus keys. Elun's Chosen damage profile is very flat compared to Keeper's burst-oriented profile. Elun's Chosen was and still is the preferred choice for the higher end of Mythic Plus keys, and it's generally better when pulls last longer, where Keeper is good for shorter pulls. Elun's Chosen single target is currently far behind Keeper, so it's very unlikely to be played in raid at all. For the balanced Spectre, there's currently a solid number of talent iterations to choose from that don't provide a meaningful increase to your damage. There's a lot of nodes that only provide like 2% damage. Crashing Star, Soul of the Forest, Hail of Stars, Umbral Intensity, Astronomical Impact, Umbral Inspiration, Orbit Breaker, and Sundered Firmament are all largely interchangeable in single target. Stellar Flare and Wild Surges simming very close to each other. You can take whichever one you want. Wild Surges is slightly easier to play, where Stellar Flare requires you to keep refreshing the dot in Pandemic. Wild Surges is better whenever there is stacked AoE. Generally be your preferred choice for Mythic Plus. Nature's Balance is simming slightly better than Twin Moons on pure single target. You should always take Twin Moons whenever there is any form of cleave or AoE. Ethereal Kindling, very good AoE talent. Whenever you Starfall, you extend the duration of Sunfire and Moonfire. So you should take this whenever there is any sustained AoE, and especially Mythic Plus. Mushroom talents, you'll always take Sunseeker. There's not really a use case for regular Wild Mushroom. You should always take one of the talents because it helps saturate your 4-piece. The difference is not that big. Stellar Amp, good single target talent. Whenever you Star Surge, the target gains a debuff and it takes more damage from your dots. Overall good talent. Solo the Forest, you should take this in always take this in AoE, both in Keeper of the Grove and Elune's Chosen. For Elune's Chosen in single target, Solo the Forest gives you no value. But for single target in Keeper of the Grove, it helps you generate more astral power, which makes it easier to just makes movement easier because you can fit more Star Surges and instant cast in, which is the best way to deal with movement. Touch the Cosmos got a buff going into the new patch. Good talent, should probably always take this. Hail of Stars, solid talent for single target. Loses that on AoE because of diminishing returns on shooting stars when there are more targets. Power of Goldrin got a buff heading into 11.1, generally recommended for all single target encounters. Umbral Inspiration can be swapped out on single target for another talent, but it's good on AoE since it increases the damage of your Starfall whenever it is active. Sundered Firmament is optional for Keeper of the Grove. It is a mandatory talent for Elune's Chosen. Orbit Breaker is good whenever it's paired with Hail of Stars, as the increased duration of Solstice helps saturate Orbit Breaker procs. Denizen of the Dream, strong single target node, loses value in AoE scenarios, recommended for all raid fights. Convoke, you should take Convoke on single target. You should probably take Incarn whenever there is AoE. You can take Convoke in Mythic Plus. You need more boss damage. So over to the Elune's Chosen tree. The general way to play Elune's Chosen is to keep using Fury of Elune. Fury of Elune makes your targets take 6% increased damage for 6 seconds. You also get random Fury of Elune procs through this talent in Elune's Chosen and through Sundered Firmament. The talent Lunation also helps reduce the cooldown of Fury of Elune whenever you hit something with an arcane ability, which also interacts with Lunar Calling, since Lunar Calling disables your Solar Eclipse and makes you always go Lunar Eclipse and makes Starfire do more damage to your current target. So all of this just ends up with you having to keep constant uptime to reduce the cooldown of Fury of Elune. This is generally better in M+. So the more uptime you have on Fury of Elune makes you do consistent damage over a longer period of time. Elune's Chosen also has longer ramp than Keeper of the Grove has, since Keeper of the Grove has the ability for your Treants to cast Moonfire for you. Other than that, there's not a lot more else to Elune's Chosen. Alright, so now I thought I would go over some of the sims that have been done before the next season. Here you can see a random talent sim. The best simming talents on single target are with Stellar Flare, Hail of Stars, and Sundered Firmament, but it's exactly the same number if you take Orbit Breaker instead. And here you can also see what I mean about a large number of talents in the middle of the tree not impacting your damage a lot. And also Wild Surges and Stellar Flare are all largely interchangeable. Here you can see this same sim takes Astronomical Impact and Umbral Intensity with Stellar Flare, and it is the same number as the one that takes Wild Surges with Umbral Intensity and Hail of Stars. But overall, like, it doesn't really provide a lot. In the raid, you will probably want to take Solo the Forest and Crashing Star whenever there's any form of movement, like in an Ansurek phase 1, then Solo the Forest was always good, or on Kaiveza. Fury of Loon is also up there for Keeper of the Grove, which is surprising, but I don't really recommend taking the talent unless you can line it up with some ad spawns. That's basically it for the single target talents there. Here you can see a sim for weapons. Here's a 675 crafted weapon, crafted with Gilded Crest, compared to like 665 hero track weapons that you get from Raid. Like here's the best in slot two-handed mace at maxed out hero track, and it's 1.3% worse than just a crafted 675 staff. And also, if you play double passive trinkets, this gets a little better, where it's only a 0.7% loss to take the best in slots. Here's a trinket sim. You can see the best simming choice is the Mugsy trinket with House of Cards. The best option you have from Mythic Plus is probably the Signet of the Priory. This is a very good 2-minute trinket. You can line this up with your cooldowns. Reverb Radio, good and solid equip trinket. The passive trinket from Raid. And here is a sim for when to break your current 4-piece. The new 4-piece on normal is better than your old 4-piece, but your 2-piece at 639 with all 4 pieces at 639 is better than your current 4-piece. So you should aim to break your 4-piece early if you can get double 2-piece. And you probably will not break this until you have the new 4-piece at 652. The old 4-piece and heroic 2-piece, or the old 2-piece at 639 and heroic 2-piece at 649 is still better than getting the new 4-piece at 649. And then you aim to break and equip the new 4-piece when you have them all at 652, which is 2 out of 6 on hero track. Okay, so for the rotation, I thought I would talk about some of the core fundamentals of Moonkin, and we can just go over to the compendium. Here you can see the single target priority. And the main priority for Moonkin is that you always want to keep up Sunfire and Moonfire and refresh within Pandemic. And you want to cast 2 Starfires to enter Solar Eclipse on single target. And the very important thing, it is optimal to start casting Starfire right before your current eclipse will end. This is both so you can carry a stack of Dream State over to your next eclipse, and just to make the time in between your eclipses be less. Because there is not a significant damage gain to be had by spending or doing anything at the end of your eclipse. And I can show you on this training dummy what I mean by it. Here I will enter Solar Eclipse. And when the Solar Eclipse is about to end, I will cast a Starfire. When my Starfire cast time is longer than the duration left on my eclipse, which is here. My Starfire, it clips the first cast, and then I enter Solar Eclipse with a Dream State. So for the opener specifically, you can go over to the compendium, and you can see there is a timeline and some checkboxes that interact with each other. You can press off Stellar Flare if you don't play it, and then you see there's a Starfire icon instead. You can take off Lucaris Meditation, and you see the text changed. If you press it, then it adds bear form as your first thing that you want to stand in bear form before you pull. It's very self-explanatory. There is a collapsible for your opener if you ever are not using cooldowns on pull. Like on Brood Twister Ovanax, where you wanted to hold your cooldowns for the first ad spawn and interactions like that, or In Mythic Plus, when you're playing Keeper of the Grove in Mythic Plus and you don't have your cooldowns ready, then you want to do Wrath just for the free cast into one Starfire, and the boss gets pulled by your Starfire, and then use Sunfire, ideally Moonfire, and then Starfire to enter the Eclipse, and then use Force of Nature if you have it, and then you can just get going on your rotation. So to visualize the opener in game, here I'm playing with Stellar Flare. If I'm not playing Stellar Flare, then the opener will just be Wrath, Wrath, Starfire. So I start in bear form. I do Wrath, Wrath, Flare, Sunfire, Moonfire, Trees, use cooldowns, empty Astral Power Bar until it's as empty as it can be before you can't press Star Surge no more. And then I press Convoke. My Eclipse ends. I go back into Solar. I missed my clip, but it doesn't matter that much. I keep going. Press Wrath to build up Astral Power. Here you can see I am about to get Force of Nature back, and I already have Celestial Alignment. And then you can use whatever other effect than Trinket you have, like your Best in Slots weapon or any other use effect you can just use for the second round of trees. And that's basically it for the opener. Okay, so for the M plus section of the rotation, I thought I would just play some footage from doing keys on the PTR. And I thought that would be easier. Here you can see the tank starts pulling. I start spreading Moonfire when everything is being pulled. You play Nameplate Whack-A-Mole to spread Moonfire on stuff where it's not spread. And whenever everything is gathered nice and tightly, I will just Sunfire. I keep spreading Moonfire. When everything is like efficiently gathered, I use my cooldowns. There were still a few that I didn't Moonfire, but didn't make the biggest difference. I probably should have Moonfired the muscle guy. And you pop your cooldown, so you use Fury of Elune, and you just start spending Astral Power and using your Starfire. I interrupt the Pyromaniac, use Fury of Elune when it's back. I save my Incarn because I know the pack is about to die. I still have not noticed that I didn't Moonfire the muscle guy. And then it's the same thing over again. I wait for the tank to pull. I had aggro on some patrons that I had to health pot. Here, the patrons don't really do a lot, so I just didn't bother moonfiring them. I keep doing damage on the big guy. There are more mobs come in. I spread my dots. Enter back into Eclipse. Fury of Elune as soon as I can. Spend my Touch the Cosmos procs. Spend some Warrior of Elune. The main part about Moonkin AoE is literally the same as single target. You spread your dots, you be in the right Eclipse, and then you spend your AP on Starfall. If you can, here's another pull. It's the same concept. Tank keeps pulling. I spread Moonfire while he's pulling. Everything is gathered. I Sunfire. I instantly use cooldowns. I spend my Dream State procs before I spend my Warrior of Elune. I also had some Owlkin Frenzy because I took damage. We pull some other mobs into. I enter Eclipse, use my Fury of Elune, press Incarn, spend AP on Star Surge. I try to get to the other side to bait the frontal, but it got baited on someone else. Here I missed my clip over to Lunar Eclipse. So there's not a lot more to it than that in M+, but I thought it'd be easier way to visualize it than to just do the AoE rotation on a dummy. Okay, so for the last part of this video, I thought I would just quickly go over some tips on how you can help yourself improve. So I thought I would go over just use WoW Analyzer and how to look through logs to like identify what to do as a Moonkin. Here I can go through one of my Kaiveza logs. I'll do this one where I didn't do that well. Sorry for the flashbang. And I can choose myself. I can go look through my cast timeline. I say I did my opener well. There's some stuff in here that's probably not that good. I had to bear form here. Here I clicked Moonkin form instead of using a Wrath to enter back. That is not good. And also, if you can take the link from your log and you paste it into WoW Analyzer, you can get through this page. And this tool is very useful for Moonkin. There's a timeline here. You can see a yellow line for when you have uptime. The yellow line stops and you don't have uptime anymore. Here you can see your active time. You want to keep this green. Getting good uptime on Moonkin and not canceling casts is the most important part. It is oftentimes better to do a wrong cast instead of canceling. You never want to cancel a cast, even if you're casting a Starfire in Solar Eclipse by mistake. You just never want to cancel. Here you can see the uptime on dots. You can see your Eclipse uptime. You can see if you had a good Wrath or Starfire cast. You see I had one bad cast. That was likely a Starfire where I missed my Solar Eclipse, my window to go back into Solar Eclipse, which is bad. You can see your Starlord uptime. A better way to visualize Starlord is also in statistics, where you can see your average haste gained. And if you want to, you can take just any of the top logs from the same fight that you're looking at, and you can just compare yourself to the top people to see if they are doing it better. Your Starlord is also visualized here in like little staircases, and you want them to be like as neat as possible. You want to spend the highest amount of time on 3 stacks. But it's also important that you don't sacrifice a movement in order to get good Starlord uptime. It's just purely min-max. On WoW Analyzer, you can also see how much damage you did in your cooldowns, which cast you did in your cooldowns. It's overall a very useful tool. So yeah, I thought I would just talk about how good WoW Analyzer is as a tool to help you improve. I will also stress that if you really want to improve, that you should be just hitting training dummies. Is probably the best way to improve in WoW in general when it comes to your rotation. Hit training dummies until your rotation becomes like second nature and muscle memory. And with that, I think that concludes the end of this video. And if you want to, this is totally optional, but if you want to spend any money on dreamgrove.gg, then you have some links here. If you like the Feral Guide, you can send money to Crazy Meow. If you like the website in general, the website developer has his own donation link as well. It is totally optional. It is not that encouraged, but if you really want to. Also, please like and share and hit the bell button and subscribe to the YouTube channel and all of that jazz that people usually say. And that is it. If there are any questions regarding this video or the guide, as I said, my Discord is very easy to find in the Druid class Discord. And I'll see you around.